Nicholas Price felt his heart freeze the moment he saw them step into the hotel lobby. He had come here to take a rare weekend off, away from his ever-growing business empire. He had chosen the most private resort on the coast, so he could finally disconnect from never-ending phone calls and urgent meetings. Yet, in one shocking instant, all sense of calm shattered. Standing by the large marble reception desk was the one person he never wanted to see again, his ex-wife. Even more startling were the 3 children by her side, 3 toddlers clinging to her arms, wide-eyed and curious. They shared the same shade of hazel eyes that Nicholas saw every morning in his own mirror. He felt an intense rush of confusion and fear sweep through him. His entire body went numb, and he could not tear his gaze away. 3 children. One had her mother's dark brown hair, the other had a slightly lighter shade, and the third had curly locks that seemed to catch the sunlight in a glowing halo. All 3 looked close in age, far too close in age to be anything but triplets. Triplets. He couldn't catch his breath. He and June had been divorced for almost 4 years. There had never been any mention of children, let alone 3. Had she been hiding them from him all this time? Why would she do that? Nicholas felt a knot form in his stomach. This was not a problem he could fix with money or by signing a quick contract. This was far more personal and cut deeper than any business deal. A chill spread down his spine, followed by a wave of anger and heartbreak he hadn't experienced in years. Just then, June looked up and locked eyes with him. Her whole body stiffened. The 3 toddlers, 2 girls and a boy, noticed her sudden stillness and stared in the same direction. Nicholas felt a bolt of shock when the children blinked, tilting their heads at him. It was as if he was looking at smaller reflections of himself. The tension in the lobby was thick. Nicholas could hear the low hum of other guests chatting, suitcases rolling across the polished floor, the soft ding of an elevator. Yet all of it seemed like background noise. The only thing that mattered was the woman who used to be his wife and the 3 children who might be his but had never known him. At that moment, he realized nothing in his life would ever be the same again. Nicholas made his way across the lobby in slow, unsteady steps. He was usually the picture of calm confidence, a man in a tailored suit who strode into any room knowing exactly what to say or do. But now he felt like he was walking on uneven ground. With each step, 1,000 questions bounced around in his mind. When he reached June and the children, an awkward silence fell between them. June looked drained, like she had been carrying a secret for too long. The children huddled close, trying to understand why their mother had gone quiet. Nicholas cleared his throat. "June," he said, his voice shaky. "I had no idea you were here." June swallowed hard. "Nicholas, I didn't expect this." She paused. "I was sure you'd be somewhere else, busy with your company." Nicholas stared at the children, who stood almost hidden behind June's legs. He crouched a little, trying to appear less intimidating. "Hello," he said softly. "My name is Nicholas." He looked at June, unsure if he should say more. One of the little girls peeked out, her big hazel eyes inspecting him. The little boy held a stuffed rabbit, and the other girl clutched June's hand. Nicholas's heart squeezed. In the midst of that tense moment, a hotel clerk came forward with keys for June's suite, smiling politely. June thanked him in a quiet voice, trying to compose herself. Then she faced Nicholas. "We should talk," she said. Nicholas nodded. "Yes, we should." She hesitated, glancing at the triplets. "Let me settle them in the room first. Meet me at the cafe near the pool in an hour." Nicholas agreed. He watched her guide the children toward the elevator. As she walked away, his eyes never left the 3 small figures by her side. They were so similar, yet each was unique. He couldn't wrap his mind around the fact that they might be his. An hour felt too long to wait. He wanted answers now, but he had no right to barge into her life after all these years. So he waited, heart thudding, mind spinning with possibilities. Nicholas tried to distract himself by sitting in the hotel's lounge, ordering a coffee he barely touched. Memories of his marriage to June came rushing back. They had met in college. He had been ambitious and serious, already thinking about future businesses. She had been creative and kind, taking art classes and helping local galleries. They had married soon after graduation, both believing it was the perfect match of two driven people. But as Nicholas's wealth grew, so did the distance between them. He traveled often for business, leaving June alone in their large house. She tried to understand, but every time he chose a new project or an international deal, she felt more neglected. Neither spoke much about it until it was too late. The divorce had been quick and clean. No children, no shared properties beyond the one house. She left the house and the city, only sending a short note about finalizing the legal papers. He threw himself into work, building his company into a multi-billion-dollar empire. And now here she was again, with 3 children. 3. The thought made him dizzy. If they were his, he had missed their birth, their first words, first steps, everything. The ache in his chest grew stronger as he imagined what he had lost. At last, he glanced at the time. The hour had passed. It was time to meet June and discover the truth. He took a deep breath and walked toward the cafe near the shimmering pool. June was already there, seated at a quiet corner table. Her eyes flicked up when Nicholas approached. He noticed how exhausted she looked, like she hadn't slept in days. He took a seat. Neither of them spoke right away. The sun shone brightly over the pool, and the sound of splashing water echoed around them. A waiter stopped to see if they wanted anything. June asked for tea. Nicholas asked for water. When the waiter left, Nicholas gently placed his hands on the table. I saw them. 3 children, all around the same age. He paused, struggling with his words. Are they mine? June lowered her gaze, tears gathering in her eyes. She nodded. Yes. They're yours, Nicholas. His heart thundered. Hearing it confirmed out loud was different than suspecting it. A rush of sorrow and anger filled him. Why didn't you tell me? He asked, voice unsteady. Why keep this a secret for so long? She rubbed her palms together, trying to calm herself. I only found out I was pregnant right after the divorce papers were filed. Our marriage was already falling apart. You were so focused on your business. I felt invisible. I didn't have the strength to bring a fight into your life, and I was afraid you'd see the kids as an obligation, not a blessing. Her voice shook. By the time they were born, you had moved on with your life, traveling from one country to another. I convinced myself you wouldn't want to be tied down. I kept putting off telling you, but I never expected to run into you here. Nicholas swallowed, trying to steady himself. I had the right to know, he whispered. June's eyes shone with tears. Yes, you did. But I was scared. I thought I was protecting them. Maybe I was wrong. I didn't think you'd choose us over your empire. I didn't want my children to grow up feeling unwanted. He felt a stab of guilt. Had he really been so absorbed in business that he made June believe he wouldn't care about his own children? He cleared his throat. What are their names? June's lips curved into a sad smile. Grace, Sam, and Mia. They're almost 3 years old. Nicholas closed his eyes, picturing the triplets again. Grace, Sam, Mia. All that time lost, no first words, no first steps. He thought about his father, who had never been around much when Nicholas was a child. Nicholas had sworn he would never repeat that mistake. Yet here he was, not even knowing his own children. He stared down at his water glass. I want to meet them properly, he said. I want to know them. I won't walk away from this. June studied him, doubt in her expression. I don't want to confuse them. They don't know anything about you. I had no idea how to explain your absence. That's on me, Nicholas said. Let me fix it. Or at least try. I know I can't get back the years I missed, but I want to be in their lives. I need to be. June wiped at her eyes. I don't know how to handle this. It's a big change for them. But I won't shut you out if you're serious. I'm serious, Nicholas replied. Tell me what you want me to do. I'll do it. She thought for a moment, then sighed. I suppose we can start slow. You can meet them as a friend. Let them get comfortable around you. Later, we can figure out how to explain that you're their father. Nicholas reached across the table and gently covered her hand with his. Thank you. I won't let them down. June didn't pull away, but she didn't hold his hand either. After a moment, she rose. They're in the suite. They usually nap after lunch. Let me see if they're awake, and maybe we can meet by the garden. Nicholas nodded. Sure. I'll be there. He watched her leave, feeling a storm of emotions inside him. He had come here to rest. Instead, he discovered he had 3 children. All the success and money in the world could not ease the tension in his heart. He was about to meet the triplets, the children he never knew existed until now. Nothing could prepare him for this. Nicholas waited by a quiet patch of lush greenery near the back of the resort. Exotic flowers lined a cobblestone path. He tried to steady his nerves. No business negotiation had ever made him feel so unsure. When June arrived, she was holding Sam and Mia by the hand, while Grace toddled close behind. The little ones were curious, but also shy, hiding behind their mother's legs. They wore matching pastel shirts and tiny sandals. Nicholas swallowed down the lump in his throat. They were even smaller than he'd realized from afar, and the idea that they were his children struck him like a lightning bolt. June knelt and spoke softly. Kids, this is Nicholas, an old friend of Mommy's. Nicholas lowered himself to their eye level, forcing a gentle smile. Hi there, he said, his voice quiet. Sam, the boy, clutched his stuffed rabbit, nibbling on one of the toy's long ears. Mia, with curly hair framing her round cheeks, peered up at Nicholas, her lips parted in curiosity. Grace, who had the darkest hair of the 3, peeked over her sister's shoulder. They're a little shy, June explained, patting Mia's shoulder. They don't usually meet new people. Nicholas nodded. That's okay. I'm a bit shy too sometimes, he lied, trying to soothe their nerves. What's your rabbit's name? He asked Sam. Sam held up the plush bunny, not speaking. Mia answered instead. He calls it Robbie. Nicholas grinned. Robbie? That's a great name. Sam relaxed a little, letting go of June's hand. He took a small step toward Nicholas. Robbie is my best friend, he said in a quiet voice. Nicholas's heart flipped. He looks like a very good friend, he said gently. Maybe I can be your friend too? Sam didn't respond, but he stared at Nicholas with big eyes. Mia tugged at Grace's shirt, then whispered something Nicholas couldn't catch. June cleared her throat. How about we go see the fish pond? I heard there are colorful fish near the fountain. The triplets perked up at the idea. They loved bright fish. June pointed the way, and the children hurried ahead, forgetting their shyness for a moment. Nicholas fell in step beside June. You're good with them, she said softly. Better than I expected. He shrugged, hiding how nervous he was. I'm just trying my best. They reached a large stone fountain, clear water trickling over carved shapes. Tiny orange, white, and black fish darted in the pool at the base. The triplets crowded around the edge, squealing with excitement. Nicholas knelt beside them. Look at that big orange one, he said, pointing. It's twice the size of the others. Grace giggled, leaning forward. Sam waved Robbie at the fish. Mia tried to mimic Nicholas's posture, kneeling next to him. Now and then she glanced up at him, as if deciding if she liked him. Nicholas was overwhelmed by their simple excitement. This was the first time he had shared a moment with his children. He felt a swirl of sadness over the years he had missed. But he pushed those thoughts aside. At least he was here now. Over the next few days, Nicholas and June formed a routine. In the mornings, June would take the triplets to breakfast at the hotel's patio restaurant. Nicholas would join them, trying not to intrude, but wanting to be there. He would help cut their pancakes or pour juice into tiny cups. Sometimes Sam would ask him a question about the food or point to a bird flying by. Grace would show him a drawing she'd made with crayons. Mia would remain quiet but watched him carefully, as if studying his every move. They were not calling him Daddy, of course. They only knew him as a friend of Mommy's. Nicholas wondered how June planned to reveal the truth. He also wondered if the children would accept him when they found out. One afternoon, while the triplets napped, June and Nicholas sat under a shady umbrella by the pool. She looked tired, but more at ease than before. Thank you for taking it slow with them, she said. I'm seeing them warm up to you, little by little. Nicholas nodded. I don't want to force anything. I just want to be there. June stirred her iced tea, choosing her words with care. They keep asking me about you, why you're here, and why you like spending time with them. I try to say you're just a nice man who wants to play with them, but I can't hold off forever. A pang of guilt shot through Nicholas. I know. I'm ready to tell them I'm their father, whenever you think it's right. She shifted in her seat. I'm worried about how they'll react. I don't want them to feel betrayed or confused. He reached for her hand, remembering when they were married and how natural it was to do so. Now it felt new, uncertain. We'll do it together in a gentle way, he said. We'll answer all their questions. I won't leave them, I promise. June looked at their joined hands, tears threatening to fall again. I appreciate that. I really do. The next day, June agreed to let Nicholas take them to the resort's private beach. She would come too, of course, but the children would see Nicholas as the main guide for fun activities. Grace, Sam, and Mia wore bright swim shorts and little hats to shield them from the sun. June carried a large bag with towels, sunscreen, and snacks. Nicholas brought along a beach ball and a small bucket with toy shovels for building sandcastles. The day was bright, the sand warm, and the sound of gentle waves lapping the shore filled the air. The triplets raced around, squealing whenever the water touched their toes. Nicholas helped them build a small sandcastle, patting the sand in place as Sam poured water into a tiny moat around it. Mia added seashells for decoration, while Grace piled extra sand on top. When the castle collapsed at one point, they all burst into laughter. Nicholas felt a strange warmth in his chest. This was what fatherhood was supposed to feel like, simple joy, free from business deals and contracts. Later, they sat under a large beach umbrella. Nicholas opened a small cooler to hand out fruit slices. Sam crawled onto his lap, half asleep from the afternoon sun. Grace and Mia snuggled close to June, sharing a large towel. It felt like a scene from a family vacation, which it was, except nobody had openly said the word family. Yet. Thank you, June whispered, her eyes fixed on her drowsy children. Nicholas nodded. For what? For being here, she said. They're so happy. This is the first time we've done something like this since ever. He rubbed Sam's back gently. I'm happy too, he admitted. And he meant it. He had never slowed down enough to realize what he was missing. That realization hit him hard, making him wonder how many moments like this he'd lost. That evening, after the children were in bed, June asked Nicholas to meet her on the terrace outside her suite. The moonlight reflected on the ocean, creating a soft glow. When he arrived, he found her leaning on the railing, lost in thought. He stood next to her, inhaling the salty breeze. Are they, he asked. Sound asleep, she said. They didn't stop talking about the beach until their eyelids got too heavy. Nicholas smiled. I love hearing him laugh. I didn't realize how amazing it would be to share these moments. June turned to face him. I think they're ready, she said, to know the truth, at least in a simple way. A pulse of anxiety passed through him. Really? Are you sure? She hugged her arms, as though trying to hold herself together. I've been thinking about it for days. They see how you look at them. They sense your care. If we wait too long, they might feel upset that we didn't tell them sooner. It's going to be confusing, yes, but they deserve to know who you are. Nicholas swallowed. I'm terrified, he admitted. June surprised him by reaching out and gripping his hand. Me too, she said. But we'll do it together. Tomorrow, we'll find a calm moment. We'll gather them around and explain that you're not just Mommy's friend. You're their dad. He squeezed her hand gently. Thank you for trusting me. She looked at him with a complicated mix of feelings in her eyes. I hope you won't let them down, Nicholas. I won't, he promised. The next morning, June reserved a small private lounge near the garden, away from crowds. Nicholas arrived early, nerves on edge. Soon, he spotted June leading the 3 children inside. They were in their usual playful mood, but they also seemed to notice the unusual setting. June invited them to sit on a soft rug. Nicholas took a seat beside her, heart racing. He had stood before some of the richest and most powerful people in the world, and yet he had never felt fear like this. Grace spoke first, tilting her head. Mommy, why are we here? June smiled, though her hands trembled slightly. There is something important I want to tell you. Do you remember I said Nicholas was my friend? 3 small heads nodded. Well, I wasn't telling you everything, June continued. He's more than that. Nicholas's eyes met June's. She gave him a small nod to continue. He cleared his throat. You see, I'm not just your mom's friend. I'm your dad. I'm your father. Silence. The children stared at him, blinking as if they needed time to process. Sam was the first to speak. Daddy, he said, his voice filled with uncertainty. Nicholas forced a gentle smile. Yes, buddy. I'm your dad. I know it's surprising. I haven't been around, and I'm so sorry for that. Mia looked at June, her eyes wide. Is that true, Mommy? June nodded, holding Mia's small hand. Yes, honey. Nicholas is your father. He didn't know about you before. It wasn't because he didn't care. Grace's lip trembled. But where have you been? Why weren't you with us? Nicholas wished he had the perfect words. I was away working, and I didn't know you existed. If I had known, I would have come to see you right away. I promise. And I'm here now, because I want to be in your life. Sam hugged Robbie the rabbit closer. Mia leaned against June, looking worried. Grace's eyes filled with tears, though she tried to hold them back. June spoke, her voice soft. I want you 3 to understand that you did nothing wrong. I kept it from him. We were living separate lives, and I made a big mistake by not telling him sooner. For a moment, the triplets just stared, taking in this new information. Then Grace crawled into Nicholas's lap, tears still shining in her eyes. Dad, she whispered. He wrapped his arms around her, tears stinging his own eyes. I'm here, he said, his voice thick. I'm not going anywhere. Mia moved next, pressing herself against his side. Sam followed, clinging to Robbie, but also reaching out a tentative hand. Nicholas gathered all 3 into a hug. June watched with silent tears falling down her cheeks. In that embrace, Nicholas felt a mixture of relief and heartbreak. Relief because they hadn't pushed him away. Heartbreak because he had missed so much time. But at least they were together now. After that day, Nicholas spent as much time as possible with the triplets. He got to know their different personalities. Grace was creative, always drawing or making up stories. Sam was quiet but loved to build towers with blocks or stack up toy cars. Mia was the observer, asking lots of questions and wanting to understand how everything worked. Nicholas tried to answer each question patiently. Sometimes they asked him things that made him feel guilty or sad, like, why didn't you come to my birthday, or did you not like us before? He explained again and again that he never knew they existed. He told them they were wonderful, smart, and loved. He reassured them that he wanted to be there for all their birthdays in the future. June watched these interactions with cautious hope. She still had moments when she pulled back, as if reminding herself that Nicholas's world was a busy one. He had an empire to run, offices spread across continents, employees who relied on him. Could he really be a stable presence? One morning, Nicholas found June standing on the balcony, staring at the horizon. The children were coloring in the next room. He walked up beside her. You've been quiet, he said. She sighed. It's a lot to take in. They're so happy with you. I just hope, she trailed off, unable to finish. He placed a hand on her shoulder. I'll prove to you that I won't disappear. This matters more to me than any company or business deal. She met his gaze. You mean that? I do, he said, voice steady. And if that means cutting back on my workload or moving things around, I will. Her face softened. We'll see, she said, as if she wanted to believe it, but was still afraid just when things began to settle. Life threw a curveball. Late one afternoon, the triplets were playing in the garden with Nicholas, while June finished packing a bag in the room. They were scheduled to check out the next day, and the future seemed uncertain. Nicholas had been avoiding the topic of what happened once they left. Suddenly, Mia, who had been giggling and jumping around, let out a sharp cry. Nicholas hurried to her side. She held her arm, tears streaming down her cheeks. She had tripped and landed on her elbow. At first, Nicholas thought it was just a little bump. But when she kept crying and refused to move her arm, panic rose in his chest. He scooped Mia into his arms. Grace and Sam looked on, frightened. "It's okay," Nicholas soothed, trying to keep calm. "Let's go find Mommy. We'll get help." He dashed inside with the triplets. June took one look at Mia and saw the problem. "We need to get her checked by a doctor," she said, trying to remain level-headed. They rushed to the small medical clinic inside the resort, where a doctor examined Mia's arm. Nicholas held the little girl's free hand, gently stroking her hair while her tears continued. June paced back and forth, biting her lip in worry. After some careful checks, the doctor announced that Mia had likely sprained her elbow. It would hurt for a while, but it wasn't broken. They wrapped it in a supportive bandage. Mia sniffled, calmer now. Nicholas felt as though he could finally breathe again. He realized something important during those frantic moments. He loved his children more than he thought possible. The idea of one of them being hurt or in pain wrecked him. Money couldn't fix that. But he could be there, hold her hand, and do anything to make her feel safe. As they left the clinic, Mia clung to Nicholas. June walked beside them, relief all over her face. Sam and Grace trailed behind, still shaken by the scare. Once back in the suite, Mia settled on the bed with a soft pillow under her arm. Sam and Grace climbed up, hovering around her like protectors. Nicholas and June stood at the foot of the bed, watching the three of them cuddle together. June turned to Nicholas, tears in her eyes. "Thank you for being so calm," she said in a whisper. "I was a wreck." He placed a hand on the small of her back. "I'm just glad she's okay," he said. "I never want them to be in pain." June let out a shaky breath. This is what parenting is like. Constant worry over the smallest things, but also relief and joy when they're safe. She paused. "You handled it well." Nicholas kissed Mia's forehead. "I don't know everything about being a dad," he admitted, "but I'm learning, and I want to keep learning." Checkout just hours away. The question of what to do next loomed over Nicholas and June like a storm cloud. The triplets were content to follow along wherever their mother led them, but Nicholas didn't want them to vanish from his life. That night, once the children were asleep, Nicholas and June sat on the sofa in her suite. A single lamp glowed softly, illuminating the worry on her face. "I'm afraid," she said, hands clasped in her lap. "We live in a small townhouse in another city. You have a huge estate, multiple offices. Where do we go from here?" Nicholas leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I could visit you. Or you could come to my home. Or we find a place that feels right for everyone. I don't expect you to uproot your life overnight." June studied his face. "I don't want you to feel forced. Your schedule is crazy. You have employees who depend on you." Nicholas took her hand, gently. "I can change my schedule. I'm not the same person I was 4 years ago. I don't want to miss any more of their lives." June's eyes glistened with tears. "I want to believe that." He squeezed her hand. "Then believe it. Let's figure this out step by step." She closed her eyes, relief and uncertainty battling on her face. "I think it might be best if we try living in the same city. Not necessarily the same home at first, but close enough so you can see them daily." Nicholas nodded, hope rising in his chest. "That sounds perfect. We can look for a place near me or find an arrangement near you. Whichever is better for the triplets." June gave a trembling smile. "All I want is for them to be happy and loved. If you can show up for them, I'm willing to give this a chance. But promise me, if you ever feel you can't handle it, don't just vanish. Talk to me." He brushed a tear from her cheek. "I promise I won't vanish. I'm in this for good." The next morning, the 5 of them stood in the grand lobby, luggage around them. Nicholas's suitcase sat next to the triplets' colorful small bags. Grace clutched Nicholas's hand. Sam held Robbie with one arm while leaning against June, and Mia stayed close to her mother's leg, her sprained elbow carefully cradled. Nicholas knelt down so he was eye level with the children. "I'm going to see you again very soon," he told them. "I promise. We'll find a nice house where you can have your own rooms, or I can come visit you at your home. We'll figure it out." Grace's eyes welled with tears. "You promise you won't forget?" Nicholas's throat tightened. "I'll never forget." "How could I?" He ruffled her hair gently. Sam nodded, clutching Robbie. "You better come," he said, voice small. "We have more sandcastles to build." Mia slowly extended her good arm to Nicholas, allowing him to pick her up for a hug. She placed her head on his shoulder. "Don't leave for too long," she whispered. His heart felt like it would burst. "I won't," he said. June watched, tears in her eyes again. The entire staff looked on, a bit puzzled by the emotional scene. Nicholas and June had both been somewhat famous guests, but no one suspected the drama unfolding behind the scenes. Nicholas rose, meeting June's gaze. They had decided that June and the triplets would return to their current townhouse for now, and Nicholas would visit them within a week. After that, they would begin planning a move if that was what June wanted. They exchanged a final, awkward hug. It was not romantic, but it was warm. "Call me when you arrive," he said. She nodded. "I will. Thank you." With that, Nicholas watched them head toward the car. The triplets waved from the back seat, looking both sad and hopeful. Nicholas stood there until the car disappeared from sight, feeling a swirl of loss. But beneath the sadness, there was a new sense of purpose. He wasn't saying goodbye. He was saying, "See you soon." Nicholas returned to his large home, a modern mansion on a cliff overlooking the ocean. Yet, for all its luxury, it felt empty. For the first time, he noticed how quiet and lifeless it was. He walked through the rooms, imagining children's laughter bouncing off the walls, small footsteps running across the marble floors. He went into his home office, where he spent most of his life working. He looked around at the shelves of business awards, plaques, and trophies that recognized him as a top entrepreneur. None of them mattered much now. Without a second thought, he picked up his phone and called the head of his executive team. "I need to reduce my travel schedule," he said. "We'll shift some responsibilities. I'm going to work from here for a while and handle only the most critical trips. Make sure the managers in each region are prepared." There was a pause on the other end. "Of course, Mr. Price. We'll handle it." Nicholas ended the call and sank into his chair, a little relieved but also nervous about the changes. He had spent years building this empire. Letting go of constant oversight felt foreign. But it was necessary. He couldn't be a distant father who only appeared once a month. A few days later, Nicholas flew to June City. He booked a room at a nearby hotel rather than imposing on her small townhouse. The triplets squealed with joy when he arrived, greeting him at the door with big smiles. Mia showed him her healing elbow. Grace insisted he look at her new drawings, and Sam wanted to demonstrate how he could stack blocks all the way to his chest without them toppling over. June stood back, arms folded, watching with a look of relief and gratitude on her face. "They've been asking for you nonstop," she said. Nicholas spent the weekend there, taking them to a nearby park, helping June cook simple dinners, and reading bedtime stories to the triplets. Every time he read to them, he felt a surge of warmth, realizing how precious these small moments were. On the last night before he had to return home, the triplets refused to let him go. Sam tugged on his sleeve, Grace clung to his arm, and Mia sat on his foot. They erupted in tears at the idea of him leaving. Nicholas knelt down, hugging them all. "I'll be back soon," he promised, fighting tears himself. "And in the meantime, you can call me anytime, okay?" He glanced at June, who nodded. "I'll help them call," she said. The phone calls became a nightly habit. Nicholas would ring them on video chat before bedtime, reading them a short story or just letting them chatter about their day. Sometimes, Sam proudly showed Nicholas a new Lego creation. Grace displayed her artwork, pages filled with crayon sketches. Mia liked to ask random questions, such as why the sky changes color or how birds fly. But as the weeks passed, they all felt the strain of living apart. June confessed that the triplets cried when Nicholas ended each call, and it broke his heart. He asked June if she would consider moving, so they could all be closer. She hesitated, worried about the upheaval for the children and for herself. But after another month of back-and-forth trips, she finally agreed it might be best. Nicholas offered to find a comfortable home for them in his city. "You don't have to live with me," he clarified. "Not yet, unless you want to." but I can help you find a house in a good neighborhood, close to good schools. You'll have privacy, but I'll be minutes away." June thought about it. "It might be too big a step, but we can at least look at some houses. If it feels right, we'll move. If not, we'll find another compromise." Nicholas breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank you." They arranged a weekend trip to Nicholas's city, so June could tour a few properties. The real estate agent, a cheerful woman named Tara, showed them several homes near quiet parks and good schools. The triplets ran through each house, squealing when they found rooms with wide windows and little nooks for play. Nicholas watched June's face at every stop. He could see her worry, probably about letting him pay for too much or feeling like she was stepping into his world too suddenly. He spoke in a calm, steady voice, reminding her she had no obligation to pick anything. After viewing several homes, they found a charming, two-story house on a tree-lined street. It had a small backyard for the children to run around and a cozy attic that could become an art studio for June, if she wanted it. Grace, Sam, and Mia seemed to love it, chasing each other from room to room. June's eyes lit up as she peeked out the back window, seeing a safe fence and tall, shady trees. She bit her lip. "It's perfect," she whispered. Nicholas placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Then let's make it yours. I'll pay the full amount, and we can work out any arrangement that makes you comfortable." June turned to him with a shaky smile. "I hate feeling like I'm taking your money." He shook his head. "I have more than enough. This is for our children. For you. I promise I'm not doing this to control you. I want you to feel safe and happy." She blinked back tears and nodded. "Then, okay. We'll move in." It took a few weeks to arrange everything, packing up June's townhouse, hiring movers, organizing the triplets' toys and clothes. Nicholas visited often, handling paperwork and finalizing details. Finally, the day of the move arrived. Nicholas greeted the truck at the new house, making sure everything was placed where June wanted. The triplets ran around excitedly, choosing their rooms. Grace wanted a room with a window facing a big oak tree. Sam insisted on the one close to the stairs so he could easily sneak downstairs if he got hungry at night. Mia liked the room with the prettiest light fixtures. By evening, although boxes still filled the hallways, the place felt like a home. June stood in the living room, exhausted from unpacking, while Nicholas wrestled with a lamp he couldn't figure out how to switch on. The triplets were sprawled on a large rug, watching a cartoon and drifting off to sleep. June smiled at Nicholas's puzzled face. "I think the switch is underneath," she said. He found it and turned on the lamp with a triumphant grin. "Told you I could do it," he joked. She laughed softly, the tension of the day easing. When the children were tucked in, June and Nicholas collapsed on the new sofa, which was still wrapped in protective plastic in some spots. "We did it," he said, rubbing his tired neck. She leaned her head back, closing her eyes. "Yes, we did." He glanced at her, heart pounding in a new way. "How does it feel?" She opened her eyes and looked at him quietly. "Scary, but also right." Nicholas reached for her hand. She let him hold it, fingers laced together. They sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes, letting the events of the day sink in. A sense of peace settled over them. In the weeks that followed, Nicholas became a daily presence in the triplets' lives. He helped them pick out clothes for their new preschool. He drove them to doctor's checkups. He even learned how to cook a few simple meals, surprising June by making them dinner on nights she was too exhausted to lift a finger. Grace loved having him read bedtime stories. Sam preferred building car tracks with him. Mia asked him endless questions while he patiently tried to answer each one. Sometimes she would stump him with something like, "Why do stars look so small but are so big?" And he'd have to Google the answer, which made her giggle. June watched with cautious joy. Nicholas noticed her smiles growing more genuine each day. They still had unresolved issues, but the children's laughter smoothed the edges. He and June were no longer tense strangers. They were parents working together. One evening, after the triplets had fallen asleep, Nicholas lingered to help June finish washing dishes. She handed him a wet plate, and he dried it, their hands briefly brushing. A current of something deeper flashed between them. He looked at her. "June, She stopped him with a soft look. "Nicholas, let's not rush. This is already a big change." He nodded, swallowing his feelings. "Of course," he said. "I just want you to know. I'm happy we're doing this together. I know I hurt you in the past. I want to make it right." She placed the last dish on the rack and turned to face him. "You're doing that by being here, by caring for the kids, by being present. That matters more than words." He smiled, feeling a flicker of hope that maybe, in time, they could be more than co-parents. But he would not push. For now, he would focus on being a good father and giving June the space she needed. A few months passed in relative peace. Nicholas continued to manage his company with a lighter schedule, still making time for important meetings, but staying close to the new house. He often spent evenings there, and sometimes he slept over in the guest room if he stayed too late reading stories. One Friday night, after Grace, Sam, and Mia were fast asleep, June walked downstairs and found Nicholas sitting on the living room couch, lost in thought. He had come over for dinner and ended up playing hide-and-seek for hours. The triplets were getting better at outsmarting him, leading to a lot of laughter. She took a seat beside him. "Everything okay?" she asked, noticing his faraway look. He roused himself and smiled softly. "I've been thinking about the future." June's gaze flickered. "Yeah." He nodded, turning to face her. "We've been living in this strange in-between place. I'm here all the time, but I'm not truly living here. The kids know I'm their dad, but they ask why I don't share a room with you, or why I leave for a few hours every day." She bit her lip, her heart pounding. "I've noticed. They want us to be together like normal parents. But I'm still not sure if we're ready for that." Nicholas exhaled. "I understand. We can keep it slow. But I do want you to know how much I care about you." His voice trembled a bit. "We didn't work out before because I was obsessed with my career. I didn't give you what you needed. But now, seeing us here, raising our children together, it makes me realize you were never a distraction. You were the best thing in my life, and I was too blind to see it." Tears shone in June's eyes. "Nicholas." He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small box. Her breath caught. "I'm not trying to pressure you," he said, opening it to reveal a simple ring with 3 tiny stones. One for each child. "I just want you to know I want a life with you. A real life. If you need time, I'll wait. But this is my way of saying I love you and the kids more than anything." June stared at the ring, tears rolling down her cheeks. "This is so sudden. We haven't even been dating again. We've been co-parenting." "I know," he said. "I don't expect you to marry me tomorrow. But I do want you to know my intentions. Whether it takes a month, a year, or longer, I'll be here." She reached out, touching the ring. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "But I can't give you an answer right now." He smiled gently. "I understand. Keep it. Think about it. We'll talk when you're ready." She closed the box, heart pounding. "Thank you for not pushing me." They sat together, hands linked, a quiet understanding between them. For now, that was enough. Weeks passed, and life fell into a comfortable rhythm. Nicholas never again mentioned the ring directly, but he showed his love through actions, helping with homework, planning little surprises for the kids, and inviting June to join him for dinner dates when the children were asleep. They grew closer, healing old wounds bit by bit. But deep down, Nicholas couldn't shake a lingering fear. Would June ever fully trust him? He sometimes worried that the old walls between them might never come down. One chilly evening, after a busy day of errands, June suddenly couldn't find Grace. Sam and Mia were in the living room, playing quietly, but Grace was nowhere to be seen. June's heart nearly stopped. She searched every room, calling Grace's name, her voice getting more frantic. Nicholas joined in, checking closets, the backyard, even the attic. No sign of her. Fear surged through them both. June's eyes filled with tears, and Nicholas squeezed her hand in reassurance while they checked outside. They noticed the side gate was open. Could she have wandered out? They dashed into the street, calling her name in panic. Sam and Mia peeked from the doorway, tears streaming, frightened by their parents' panic. Just when Nicholas was about to call the police, a neighbor appeared, gently leading Grace by the hand. She had wandered next door, spotting a cat and following it into the neighbor's yard. Grace's head hung low, tears on her cheeks. June ran to her, scooping her up. Nicholas let out a shaky breath of relief, placing a hand on Grace's back. "Are you all right? You scared us," he murmured. Grace clung to her mother, sobbing. "I'm sorry. I saw a kitty. I didn't mean to get lost." June kissed Grace's hair, tears of relief soaking her daughter's jacket. "It's okay, baby. I'm just glad you're safe." That night, after they calmed Grace, Sam and Mia, Nicholas and June sat on the living room floor, still feeling shaky. The suspense of almost losing Grace made them realize how fragile and precious their family truly was. June lifted her gaze to Nicholas, eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you for being here," she said, voice trembling. "I don't know how I'd handle things alone." He wrapped his arms around her, pulling her into a tight hug. "You're not alone anymore." The next morning, the children were fine, eating cereal, giggling, as if nothing had happened. Nicholas watched them from the kitchen table, feeling a deep sense of love for these three little people who had changed his life forever. June joined him, placing 2 cups of coffee on the table. "You okay?" she asked softly, sitting down beside him. He nodded, still shaken. "But yeah, I'm just grateful Grace is safe." June touched his arm. "I have something I want to talk to you about." He turned to her, heart thumping. "Yes." She gave him a shy smile. "I thought about your proposal, or your promise, I guess. Last night scared me. It reminded me that life is too short to live in fear or hold on to old hurts." Nicholas straightened up, breath catching. She continued, "I love you, Nicholas. I never stopped. I was just too hurt and afraid to say it. But you've changed. I see how you take care of our children, how you make time for them even with all your responsibilities. I see you've chosen us over endless business travel. So, if you're still sure you want to marry me, I'd like to say yes." He felt warmth flood his entire body. His eyes began to well with tears. "Are you sure?" he whispered. She nodded, a shaky laugh escaping her. "Yes, I'm sure. I want to build a real family together. I want to give the kids the life they deserve, with both parents under one roof." Nicholas couldn't contain his joy. He stood, pulled June into his arms, and kissed her softly on the forehead. The children looked over, curious. Sam said, "Daddy, what's going on?" June pulled back, wiping away tears, and looked at Nicholas with a grin. "Should we tell them?" He laughed softly, nodding. They knelt on the floor where Grace, Sam, and Mia were sitting. Nicholas cleared his throat. "Kids, remember how we said we're a family?" 3 heads nodded, eyes big. Nicholas held June's hand. "Well, your mom and I are going to get married again. That means we'll all live together, and I'll never have to leave at night. We'll be a family in every way." Grace squealed, Sam grinned widely, and Mia clapped. They tackled Nicholas and June in a group hug, shouting yay, and Mommy and Daddy. In that moment, Nicholas felt his heart overflow with happiness. The suspense and fear that had lived in the corners of his mind faded, replaced by something pure and hopeful. They were no longer fragmented. They were a family. Their wedding was small and sweet, held in the backyard of the house June had chosen. Strings of lights hung from the trees, and the triplets served as ring bearers and flower girls all at once, each carrying a small basket or pillow. Grace scattered flower petals, Sam carried the rings, with Robbie tucked under his arm, and Mia led them in the right direction. Close friends and a few relatives gathered to witness the quiet ceremony. When Nicholas and June exchanged vows, there wasn't a dry eye among the guests. The triplets watched, fascinated, as their parents promised to love and stand by each other. After the simple ceremony, everyone celebrated with cake and laughter. The triplets danced around on the grass, giggling so loudly that it made the night feel magical. Nicholas and June stood arm in arm, watching their children, as they realized they had everything they needed right there. Life did not become perfect overnight. Nicholas still had to manage his company. He had to travel at times. June had her own worries, learning to trust that he would always come back. The triplets tested their patience daily, as 3 energetic little ones often do. But now they faced these challenges together. They tucked the children into bed each night with the same promise. Mom and Dad were there, and they would stay. The house was no longer quiet or lonely. It was filled with chatter, footsteps, and bedtime stories. Every so often, Nicholas would look around the living room at the toys scattered on the rug, at June reading a story with Sam on her lap, at Grace and Mia playing a silly game in the hallway, and he would feel a rush of gratitude. He had power, money, and business success, but none of that compared to being a husband and father. And June, watching Nicholas chase the kids around the backyard, knew she had made the right choice. The man who once put business first now set aside his phone when the children called. He was present for movie nights, for Sunday pancake breakfasts, and for each small moment that made up their life. Yes, there had been heartbreak, anger, and secrets. But those days were behind them. The future was open, bright, and full of love. Though they had lost some precious time, they found a second chance. And, in the end, that second chance was what truly mattered.